Hello, kids. Welcome to another presentation by Mr. Fry. This one is going to be all about sound. Yes, sound, the stuff you hear around you every day and the physics of it, how it actually works, and the nature of how it interacts with everything around you. So with no further ado, let's talk about sound. Now, this is going to be an interesting PowerPoint presentation from me because there's actually going to be words in it. I try and not use words a lot, but it's really easy to describe, so I'm going to give that a shot in this one. What is sound? Sound is a wave of pressure traveling through air, water, or a solid. And it's literally like that. It's a pressure, something you can feel that travels in a wave away from something. And that something is what you would identify as making the sound. That piece of energy is called a vibration. So if something is making a sound, it's making vibrations. And those vibrations are the energy that's traveling towards you or around you. For instance, a drum. If you hit a drum, it creates a vibration, and that vibration comes away from the drum. Mr. Matthias could explain this to you. And you can actually feel that vibration. You see, sound is a physical thing. It can move things. It can push things. It travels and forces things out of the way when it moves. If you put your hand up next to a drum or a big speaker when it's playing loud music, you will actually, boom, feel the vibration in your body and in your hand. That's what's really cool about sound, is it actually can move things. The other interesting thing is, it is not a sound until it reaches your ear. And this is what I mean. Many things can make vibrations, but until that vibration enters your ear and your brain translates it, it's not a sound. Oh, this person just said, hey, I heard a sound. Because it wasn't until it actually entered the ear and you call it that. There are vibrations everywhere. But if you don't hear them, you're not going to call them a sound. They actually have to get to your ear, and that's when the energy turns into what you would call a sound. Now, as far as traveling, as I said, sound has to travel through something. It's the molecules that make up something banging against each other as it carries the sound in whatever direction it happens to be passing in. So you might go, well, how does it travel through air? Believe me, kids, air is something. You may look into the sky like this little baby is, and then you go, well, there's nothing up there. Oh, yes, there is. The most common molecule in the air around you is nitrogen. And there's a lot of it banging up against each other. The second most common, luckily for us, because we need to breathe it to survive, is oxygen. After those two, there's just a little bit of something called argon and maybe some carbon dioxide if you're nearby something that's actually breathing out. And there can be many different mixtures of this. Um, Around all these molecules, depending on where you are and what the weather's like, you're also going to have some water moisture around there too. The moisture, the water content in the air can change quite a bit. When you make a sound like this traveling through, it's actually banging all those molecules against each other, like pushing through a crowd. If you're in a really, really, really tight room of people and everyone's like all bundled up together, shoulder to shoulder, and someone in the back got pushed really hard, that person would bump into the person in front of them, who would bump into the person in front of them, who would bump into the person in front of them. And that would keep on going out through the entire crowd until one person being pushed turns into everybody being pushed in front of them. That's how sound travels through the air or anything else. Just pushing molecules up against each other. Not very good for crowds. So it can, as you'll see, travel through the air. But this also means it can travel through the water. I mean, water's something. It's a whole bunch of water molecules really close together, and they're very close together, so they can actually carry sound very well. And even if you're something very solid like wood, boom, travels through. I mean, when someone knocks on your door, guess what you're hearing? The vibration of them hitting coming through the door, out the other side to your ear. That's why knock knock jokes work. So again, I want you to notice something here though. Watch when the vibration goes through the air. Watch it go through the water. and watch it go through the wood a little faster. The speed of sound will vary depending on what it's traveling through. Now, the old standard we like to go by is how it travels through the air, because that's most familiar to us. If you want a standard, like a base of trying to figure out, like, okay, what's the average speed of sound? Put yourself on the beach. Okay, any beach around the world. And generally speaking, if a sound goes by, whoa, that sound, if you had a speedometer, would be traveling about 1,100 feet per second. Yeah, that's pretty fast. Not super fast, but it's fast. And as you travel higher up, why we say sea level is because it's a good benchmark for us to gauge it. Because as you go higher, depending on the humidity, depending on pollution, depending on many things, it can change the speed of the sound. Particularly as at altitude, as you go higher and higher and higher, the sound will actually slow down because there's fewer molecules to bang up against each other. It would be like having that room, but it's not as crowded as it was before. So when you push that one person, they may not bump into everybody in front of them. They just might bump into one or two people who just might bump into one or two people, and it just won't be as powerful as it was before, and it actually will go slower. So you want the fastest sound you can get, head for the beach. This is going to be a great video here, okay? There's going to be 3 lightning strikes in this video. Light travels really fast. You'll be finding that out in the next presentation. Way faster than sound. So when lightning goes off here, you see it, boom, very fast. But the sound, oh, I'm coming, it kind of puddles behind at about 1,100 feet per second. And it's so slow compared to the light that you're going to see the lightning bolt, and there's going to be a long pause. Boom, and then you're going to hear the thunder. Thunder is simply the sound of the lightning finally reaching you because it takes its time. So here, watch this, and I want you to listen for the time in between the lightning and the time you hear the thunder, because that's how long it takes the sound to reach you from where it was created, where the lightning bolt hit the ground. Okay, not bad. Let's get one a little bit closer now. Yeah. Much more definitive, much stronger, and it didn't take as long because it was closer. Again, as they get closer to you, the sound will be much crisper because it's not as diluted as it goes away from where the lightning was. It becomes more diluted in the air, so it's not quite as strong. And of course, the closer it is, the much faster it'll get to you. Generally speaking, it takes about 5 seconds for sound to travel 1 mile. And so that's just a general speaking. So if you hear something and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, you know that that sound was created about 1 mile away. That's actually not a bad way to look at it. Now, as I was saying, sound travels through things, and this can be proven in the most fun way. You might have heard of this happening before using I think we call them tomato soup telephones, because you have tomato soup can, and you poke a hole in it, and you attach a string to it, and you talk in one end, and you hear it out the other. Does this work? Yes, it does work. In fact, I encourage you to try it at your house. The theory is, not a theory actually, it does work. The woman on the left will speak into the can, and the sound she makes, the vibration she makes, will bounce around inside that can and get collected by the string. She talks. When it hits the string, it bounces to the molecules of the string and travels across. When it hits the other side, it enters the can again and starts vibrating again, and she hears the voice. Now, is it as clear? No. Is it as loud? No. But does it work? Yes. The key here is, though, I want you to try this. The key is to keep the string tight. That's important. The tighter the string, the better the sound will travel through it. Because the tighter it is, the tighter the molecules will be pulled together from that tension, and the sound will travel much, much better through it. So keep that string tight, kids, and give this a shot. Love to hear how it works for you. And I have another question for you. Here's a question for you. As I told you, to travel through the air, sound needs to bounce off of things, like the molecules that are in the air. So, I ponder this to you. Would sound travel through space? No, it won't. That's why they call it space. Because there is so much space between the molecules up in space. I use that word a lot now. They can't bounce into each other. It would be like that crowded room we talking about. Imagine like the entire gymnasium at the school. And instead of everybody being crowded together like they would be down at sea level, all those air molecules at sea level all packed up together. When you go into space, you'd have that entire gymnasium. There might be 1, 2 people in it. That's it. Doesn't matter how hard you push that one person. They will not bounce into anybody else. There's just nobody there. And the sound does not travel. When you watch those space movies, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, and remember in Star Wars when the Death Star exploded? No, you're not going to hear that. There's going to be no sound. It's not going to work that way. It just isn't. When you see these spaceships don't fly by, boom, exploding. No, you're not going to hear the engines. You're not going to hear it going by. Doesn't work that way. There's no sound in space. So much so that a very popular movie franchise was very scary movies that were done in space. They had a slogan for their movies to make them sound very spooky. And the slogan was, "In space, no one can hear you scream." Ooh. Well, I was a geek at the time, like I'm a geek now, total nerd. And I realized that this was a very, very, very good chance to try and educate the masses, and they missed out because you know what? They could go and say, "In space, no one can hear you scream," but they should have added at the end, because of lack of molecules and the emptiness of space and not allow vibrations to travel from one area to another. They could have just added that in and taught so many people so many cool things, but they didn't. So onwards we go. All right, one more really cool thing that we can do with sound, and a really neat way to see sound. Let's say we had a barrel of TNT, trinitrotoluene, very explosive stuff, and we exploded it. Boom! That expansion of air, when that thing explodes, is going to literally smash the molecules against each other. All that nitrogen and oxygen, and it's just going to smash it, making not only a sound, not only a vibration, but a special kind of vibration called a shock wave. It's going to be expanding so fast, it's going to be faster than the speed of sound. So it's going to be extremely high energy, which means very loud and traveling very fast. And like I've told you earlier in the video, it's a physical force. You can see it coming in some cases. You can actually see the sound coming to you. Boom, look at that go. And of course, I have some video to show that. This is going to be a video of a large explosive barrel out in the middle of a very safe area in the desert, and they need to get rid of it, so they're going to explode it. And when it explodes, you're going to see the shock wave coming to the people on the camera. And keep in mind this entire time the camera's running and the sound is on. They're just being very quiet at first. So here's the barrel. They're very far away to be safe. And watch what happens. Watch for the shock wave.
Oh, man. That's a good one.
So when that went off and you didn't hear a sound, many people instinctively thought, oh, the volume's down. I didn't hear anything. No, no, no. It made a sound. The camera was running. It was picking up sound, just hadn't got there yet. It had to travel all that distance to reach them. And you could see that shockwave coming out. This is a neat one because it's a natural one. For this one, I want you to watch above where the explosion is going to be in the clouds. The shock wave is so powerful that it pushes. You're down by sea level, so the air is very moist. There's lots of water molecules in the air, lots of evaporated water. The shock wave is so powerful, it's going to push the water molecules into each other, actually making a temporary cloud. You're going to see a mist forming above it. That is all of the water molecules being forced together by the shock wave as it expands outwards. Totally cool. Watch this. See that? That's awesome.
Watch out for the shock, it's coming.
He knows it's coming. Boom.
Holy smoking Toledos.
Yes, he did say smoking Toledos. At least I can keep that one on camera. So that was amazing to watch those, like temporary clouds being formed above it from that shock wave. One more to go. This was out in the desert again, and as the army's there and they need to get rid of some old munitions and they need to do it safely. So they put them very, 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 very far away and they explode them. All right, this is a great chance to see a shock wave coming in. Watch the ground on this one. Watch the ground. Because it's dusty there, you can actually see the dust raise up a little bit as it flies towards them, and then it slams into them. Here we go. Watch the ground. Cool, huh? Look at all the dust in the air. All that dust was lifted up by what you would call a sound. The shock wave coming from that explosion. So totally cool stuff. This is neat. This is not a shock wave, but this shows this is some things guys in their cars with a big booming system like to do. This is not a trick. This is not Photoshop. This is not magic. This is the strength of the bass sound waves coming from his stereo, which are very strong, heavy waves that are strong enough. Well, watch what it does to the styrofoam cup. Again, this is not magic. This actually works. He's getting ready for the bass. Yep. That is, again, that's not a trick. That is the sound waves coming out of there, and they keep slamming into that cup and holding it up again and again and again and again and again until it goes away. Before you ask, was that good for his ears? No, I would not recommend that. I wouldn't actually be surprised if he did have earplugs in before he did this that you couldn't see, because that'd be very bad for your ears to have it that loud. All right. I think I said the last thing was one more thing, but we do have one more in addition to that because this was so cool that I had to keep it all on because sound is just really neat stuff. I had to go into the realm of nature, of course, before we could finish this up. How does nature use sound? One of the most common ways I think all you guys already know is this thing called echolocation, sending out sounds. Again, it's a physical thing, so it bounces off things quite accurately too. And those sounds bounce back to you, and you read the sounds that come back. You read it with your ears to figure out where something is. And bats do it. I think most of you guys know that. Not all bats, but most bats will do it, which is, look at the size of those ears. And they often do it. They do it to get around, but also to catch their food. So how it works is this guy's flying up here and sends out signals, and every time it does, it bounces off, in this case, a moth. The huge ears are able to pick up these sounds and figure out exactly where the moth is at the same time. They use very, 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 very high-pitched sounds that travel very, 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 very fast. So high, generally speaking, we can't hear them. Can you hear a bat squeak? Yes, but it's probably not hunting for food then. The squeaks they make when they're hunting for food are very high-pitched. We can't hear them. But one group of naturalists put up a microphone that was adapted so that it could hear those high-pitched sounds and translate them to a lower sound that we could hear. And therefore, they could hear the chirps of the bat as they closed in on their food. And it's really cool. Let's watch. Watch and hear. Let's run this. It speeds up right before it catches it. So it makes sure it's more accurate. And then, of course, it stops because it's going to have a mouthful of moth in a moment. Good catch. I don't know what happened with this one because I believe this is the one that, yeah, he drops it. What are you doing? Huh. And I think this guy is the... Yeah, he swatted away with his own wing. Oops. There we go. You can see also they use that webbing between their legs, almost like a tail, to help scoop it up to eat it. That webbing's there not by accident. It helps them scoop up their food. Now we're going to, here's our summary of sound. What I want you guys to remember from this is that is it a physical energy that has to travel through something. It's something you can feel. It's a force, but it has to have something to travel through. When you have this wave of energy coming out, we call it a vibration. And you can feel vibrations everywhere, but it's not called a sound, of course, until it enters your ear and you hear it. It can move things. It can push them around. I mean, you saw what they did with that cup flying through the air. And of course, including us, animals have found many uses to help them survive. We use it too. Differently than some animals, but we absolutely do. So to finish, I'm going to play you a clip of the loudest sound made by any living creature on this earth. I thought I'd surprise you with it first, but no, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a sperm whale. You're going to hear a clicking sound in this, not a chirp, chirp, chirp. You're going to hear a banging sound, like a bang, bang, bang. This sound is 230 decibels. Decibels are the rating of how you measure the sound of something. A jet plane engine, maybe 30 feet away, is about 150 to 180 decibels. These things are louder than most any mechanical device human beings have made. And not louder than natural events like volcanoes, but the sound these whales are going to make are so powerful that if the diver was beside the whale right up to it when it made the sound, it would literally burst your eardrums, like destroy your eardrums. For this reason, divers always keep a decent distance away from sperm whales if they're responsible divers. I'm going to play it for you now. I want to listen to hear these bangs. They're pretty cool. Those sounds can be heard thousands of miles away through the water. Sound travels slowly through water, but for very, very long distances. So there's a great trivia fact for you. The loudest animal in the world is the sperm whale, and it is absolutely makes the loudest sound that we've recorded yet. That is a sound presentation, kids. I hope you enjoyed it, and you take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again for the next video. Until then, this is Mr. Fry saying goodbye.